Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the 75 Triumph TR6 that we're working on in the Distributor's garage. And in the last episode we said that it was time for timing, but there was no time this time, so we decided to leave it for the next time. So this next time is now, and let's see if we're gonna have time for timing this time. Did I say timing or time? No? Okay. Well, you know what? I decided that I'm not gonna show you the timing this time. Not because we don't have time or not because I've already have many timing videos, but because I made a mistake with the timing. Well, yeah, it's not the first time I make mistakes with timing, you know. So I'm not gonna show it, and not because I'm ashamed from my mistake. I don't want to hide my mistake, but I just don't want anybody to get confused because I did something really stupid, and you're gonna find out what later. So I'm just gonna skip through the time when I believed that I've done the timing correctly, and we're gonna go from there. And obviously later we're gonna find out our mistake, and we're gonna have to come back and troubleshoot it, and we're gonna do the timing second time. So that time I'm gonna show you the timing. So no timing this time. Did I say timing or time? How many times did I use these two words? Hey guys, back on the 75 TR6. We're gonna keep going with the engine, which yesterday we completed the timing. So now what's left is to put the head on, assemble the front cover here and everything, and we're gonna be very close to putting it back on the car. But first thing first, let's install the head so it doesn't stay open for too long. It's dusty in the garage and I don't want any debris to go in. So we already have the first two tappets in because we used them for the timing. So we're gonna install the other 10. Of course, we're gonna lubricate them, assemble the lube all over. Gonna clean this surface nicely. Gonna wipe the gasket surface to make sure there's no debris. Then we're gonna put our studs for the head. Two of them are a little bit longer, and last time when I was assembling an engine I couldn't figure out where would the longer ones go. I believe one goes here in this corner and one here. Supposedly that helps for the mounting here for the lifting eye, but don't quote me on that. I'm not really sure. I don't see any difference in the manual. It shows them all the same length. This I know though, there's one side has shorter threads, the other side has longer threads. The shorter one goes in the block. I'm gonna just finger tighten them. They don't need to be super tight now. Let's make sure we have the correct one. That always gets me a little bit nervous. That's how it goes with this tab towards the back, because you can put it this way as well. It still fits, but this tab sticks out. Also here these rings are protruding a little bit on this side, and on this side they are pretty much flush with the surface of the gasket, so they have to go down because we have a little recess here on the block. So these rings need to fall into the recessed part, so that's how it goes. But first we're gonna put gasket maker here. This is the part where people argue whether you should put gasket maker or not. So I'm not saying that my way is the right way, but I always put gasket maker. This is Permatex Forma gasket. And we didn't forget the tappets. We didn't forget anything, right? So next, washers and nuts everywhere. And we're gonna torque the head. So the torque here is 80 foot-pounds according to the manual. So we're gonna go first to 60. I'm gonna torque all of them to 60 and then to 80. We're gonna start from the center and we're gonna go in spiral motion around to finish all of them. That's the pattern in the manual. Okay, and now we're gonna adjust our torque wrench to 80 pounds and we're gonna repeat that. Okay, so next is the rocker shaft. Again, the studs have shorter and longer side. The shorter side goes into the head. Actually, we can install these as well right now. These are the studs for the cover. Let's see if these rocker, if the pedestals are gonna fall into the right place now, because since we removed them, they might be... Oh, hold on. Where are our push rods? Our push rods, we have them numbered here, but I'm gonna wipe them. The pedestals might not match now because, well, they do, because they've been moved, you know. They kind of match. And now, as we are bringing it down, we're gonna have to make sure that the push rods are matching the rockers, or the rockers are matching the push rods. And we're gonna be tightening the nuts evenly so we don't bend the shaft. Keeping an eye on the rockers and the push rods. Few turns to make sure that everything is moving properly. Well, since we're here, why don't we adjust the valve lash now? Well, I did it again. I just adjusted all the valves and realized that I didn't hit the record button, so I'm not gonna undo it to do it again, but I'm gonna explain the procedure. So in the last valve adjustment video that I did different procedures, so here I'm gonna do different just for diversity, you know. So this is the procedure that's explained in the manual, but that's also a consequence of the rule of 13. So the rule of 13 is very simple. For a 6-cylinder engine, it says when you have a fully depressed valve, the number of this valve plus the number of the valve that you can adjust should give you 13. So for example, now we have number 4 fully depressed. So now we should be able to adjust number 9, because 4 plus 9 equals 13. So 9 is this one. So here it's already adjusted, so I'm not gonna adjust it, but that's how it works. However, in the book, in the manual, it is explained differently. It doesn't talk about rule of 13, but it's the same principle. Because there it says with number 4 and 6 fully depressed, because they are almost open at the same time. That's the, what is that? That's the exhaust on number 2 and the intake of number 3 are open at pretty much the same time. So in the manual it says that with number 4 and 6 fully depressed, you can adjust number 9 and 7, right? Which is 7 and 9. So now we can adjust these. Like I said, I already adjusted them, so I'm not gonna go through that. So that's how it's explained in the menu. It doesn't say why when 4 and 6 are depressed you can adjust 7 and 9, but this is why, because 4 plus 9 equals 13 and 6 plus 7 equals 13. So we can just keep going the same way, and now we're gonna keep an eye here to see which two valves are gonna go down. And that looks like 11 is going down. 11 and what is that? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. So we're just gonna go all the way down with them. And again, 8 plus 5 equals 13. So now 5 can be adjusted. And 11 plus 2 equals 13. So now 2 can be adjusted. This sounds a little bit loose. No, it's not. It's good. Let's see the next ones. So 11 and 8. Now let's see which two are gonna go open. This one and which other one. Oh, number 1. I'm looking that direction. I don't see under my nose. My nose is too big, that's why. Now these two are fully depressed, 1 and 3. So 1 plus 12 equals 13. 3 plus 10 equals 13. What's the next one? Number 7 and number 9. There you go. Before with 4 and 6 open we adjusted 7 and 9. Now with 7 and 9 open we're gonna adjust 4 and 6. And so on and so forth. You can keep going, wait for 2 valves to go down and adjust the other 2 valves that add up to 13. So now we have 2 and 5. So we can adjust 11 and 8. And that's it. Anyways, I've done it already. I explained it once, but I didn't record it, so now I explained it again. I think the second time I explained it, it worked better, so it's more understandable. It's clearer. It's more clear. Next, Next, let's measure the end play of the drive gear for the distributor and the oil pump. And that's important because we don't want to put preload on it. So this is the drive gear that goes down in that hole. And if you see there at the bottom of that hole, there's the shaft of the oil pump. So the gear engages with the camshaft, and then through this shaft underneath, and this slot which engages with the shaft on the oil pump, but also at the top, this is where the distributor engages with this slot, and also the distributor gets turned by the camshaft. So that's how it goes down. So now the teeth engaged with the gear on the camshaft, but the slot underneath is still not engaged with the oil pump. So for this reason we can start turning the engine, and there you go, they engaged right away. So the gear went down. So now it is where it needs to be. And then the distributor pedestal goes on top, but when we drop the pedestal on top, that's what limits it, how far up it can go. So if this pedestal is a little bit deeper than what it should be, it might put too much preload on the gear and squeeze it there, it won't turn. If it is too high though, there's gonna be a lot of play on that gear, and that's not good. So we need to have around 5 thou of end play of that gear. So when the pedestal is on top of it, it can go only 5 thou up and down. So how do we measure that though? Because when we put the pedestal, how do we measure how much play we have there. Well, there's an easy method for that. First of all, we're gonna take the gear out. Actually, I'm gonna put some assembly lube here because I don't want it to be dry. So now we're gonna take a washer with 1/2 inch opening that is not dented and it's not bent, because it's important, because we're gonna measure it. And this one is 72.5 thou. Then we're gonna take the gear and we're gonna put the washer there. And we can drop it back the same way as we dropped it before. I hope the washer doesn't fall. No, okay, good. Again, we have to engage it the proper way. So we're gonna keep turning the engine until it drops. I'm pushing on it, so it's gonna, there you go. It's gonna drop down, I was gonna say. So now it is all the way down, but we know that it is raised by 72.5 thou. So we're gonna memorize that. So now we're gonna come on this side and we're gonna put our pedestal. We can put our nuts here. I just realized the pedestal is not painted, so after I'm done with this clip, I'm gonna paint it because we're gonna need it soon. We're not gonna tighten it like crazy, just gently. Because now we're gonna have a gap here, because the gear is raised, right? So very gently. There you go. Now we can measure how wide this gap is. For that, we're gonna use a bunch of leaves here. Needs a little bit more. Okay, I think that's the right amount here. Okay, so now we can just add all the numbers up, or we can just measure it. So that's 70.5 thou. Okay, so what this tells us is that if we add a gasket here of 3 thou, the gap instead of 70.5 is going to become 67.5, right? But if we remove the washer from inside, we're going to drop the gear by 72.5 thou. It's going to go down. So if the pedestal drops by 67.5, but the gear drops by 72.5, that's going to be exactly 5 thou difference, right? Because the gear is going to drop 5 thou more than the pedestal. So that's what we should do. We should put a gasket that is 3 thou thick. I hope I made that clear. Every time I explain it, I'm not sure if it is clear or not, but I think it is clear. So, okay, but there's something else important here, which is the orientation of this gear. So let me take the washer out before I forget. So this slot that engages with the distributor is not going through the center of the gear. It's a little bit offset towards the engine right now. So we need to make sure that when the first cylinder is at top dead center of the firing stroke, this gear is in this orientation. This end should point to around 2 o'clock and this should point at around 8 o'clock. Something like that. Or the other way I like to explain it is when the pedestal is in, the slot needs to be pretty much parallel to these two holes. Maybe a little bit off, but pretty much there. Of course, when we're dropping the gear down, the pedestal is not there, so we just need to memorize that. So first of all, let's turn our engine to the top dead center of the firing stroke of the first cylinder. So how we're gonna do that is we're gonna wait for the intake to open, and when it closes, it's gonna be the top dead center of the firing stroke. So somewhere here, now we only have to find top dead center, which I'm gonna put this inside, and I feel the top of the piston. There you go. So this is top dead center. So right now in this position of the crankshaft and the camshaft, we need to have the gear in this orientation, 2 and 8 o'clock, and the slot needs to be closer to the engine, not on this side. Remember, I said it doesn't go through the center, it's a little bit offset. So it needs to end up in this orientation, but the teeth are diagonal, so as it is going down, it turns a little bit. And also, when this slot engages with the oil pump, it drops even lower and turns a little bit more. So again, I'm gonna put more lubrication here because it's not coming out again. If the engine sits for a long time, normally what I do is I prime it. So I take the gear out again and I prime it, but I don't think I'm gonna do that with this engine because I'm planning to start it pretty soon. So, okay, so it needs to be in this orientation. So what I figured is that if I drop it down a little bit past vertical, so this is vertical, but I turn it just a little bit past vertical, 1 tooth past vertical, and I drop it this way, as it goes down, it goes in that position that I'm looking for. So let's see. Well, I think it engaged already. Oh, no, now it engaged. So now we have to go back to top dead center. There. How is it now? No. It's too far. So it's 1 tooth off. Okay. Let's try this way. I think I turned it by 1 tooth. No, I'm gonna go backwards. I think that I'm just looking for the oil pump shaft. There. Let's bring it back to top dead center now. There. Now it is like 2 and 8 o'clock here, and it is closer to the engine. So that's where it goes. Okay, that's determined. I'm gonna put a gasket here so I don't forget, but I need to paint the pedestal first. So in the gasket set, they give you three gaskets, and they are all the same. They just give you 3 so you can stack them if you need to, depending on your measurement. And as far as I know, these gaskets are between 3 and 4 thou somewhere. 4. So we're gonna have a 6. Depends, because when I press it, it's gonna get compressed, right? So it is 3.5, 4 thou, depending on how much it is compressed. So we're gonna have 5 to 6 thou of end plate. Okay, I'm gonna put it here. I'm not gonna put gasket maker yet. I'm gonna put gasket maker when we put the pedestal, but just to remind me that we need 1 gasket here only. And that's it. Okay, since we're on this side of the engine, I started putting everything on, but not too much. I'm not gonna put the coil, and I'm not gonna put the distributor, only the pedestal, because this time, for the first time, I'm gonna try to assemble the engine to the transmission and put them together in the car. So that's gonna be tricky for me, and I don't want to have way too many things on the engine. But the oil filter and the fuel pump are pretty deep down there, so I installed this. I am also going to install the pressure relief valve here. So this is the oil pressure relief valve, which is a very simple device. It has a spring and a plunger that go like this and go like this, and they plug a hole down there. On the other side, the oil pump is pumping pressure, and if this pressure goes way too high, it overcomes the tension of this spring, and this plunger opens, and it allows oil to go back into the oil pump. So this spring needs to be exactly 4 centimeters, or I don't remember how many inches that was. I remember it was 4 centimeters, and Let's see how much it is. I never checked actually. So this one is 38 millimeters. I guess that's why they put this washer here, because it was releasing the oil pressure at much lower pressure and it wasn't pumping up, I guess, because the spring wasn't. Yeah, that's 1.28 millimeters. Well, I was gonna say that I was gonna remove it, but actually since the spring is only 38, I'm gonna put it back, because unfortunately I didn't think of that and I didn't order a new spring. So we're gonna put it back, the washer, and we're gonna install the body. Okay, and you know what, guys, I think that's gonna be it for today. I don't know if I'm gonna end the video here or not, because I totally lost track of when the video starts and when it finishes, but in case it is over here, I'm gonna say bye and I'll see you in the next one. If not, I'm gonna see you in a second.